And now, coming to you live from Huntsville Attic Studios, it's Pop Culture Philosophers. And here are your hosts, Rockin, Robbie, Billups, and John Hammertime Holshoe.
Hey everybody, it's the Pop Culture Philosophers, coming to you always from the Huntsville Attic in beautiful Huntsville, Alabama. Today we're talking about superheroes on TV. That's right, superheroes on the small screen. Speaking of superheroes, I'm your host, John Hammertime Holshoe, and with me always is Rockin' Robbie Billups.
Hey everybody, how you doing, John?
I'm doing fantastic. Super, if you will.
Ooh, super. Superhero TV, and you're feeling super, I'm feeling super, because with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have Justin Goldsmith.
Hey.
And we also have Drew Madsen.
Glad to be back. Nice to see you guys.
I am thankful that you guys are here, especially you, Drew. Absolutely. Superhero TV, John.
Yeah, I think it's something that we all love, and I think probably a lot of listeners love superheroes on the small screen.
Absolutely, and superheroes have been a big part of television pretty much since the beginning of television, you know, in the 1950s, for instance. And let's talk about this real quick, because we're doing a brief history of superheroes on TV, and they're not a lot, it seems. Like, you would think that there aren't a lot, but there are over the decades. But there just wasn't the technology really to do a lot of these things back in the day, you know? So you had to get different kind of things. But in the 50s, it kind of starts with the Lone Ranger.
Oh, yeah.
It really does. And then you got The Adventures of Superman with George Reeves and Zorro. You know, those are very popular superhero shows in the 50s. In the 60s, you had Doctor Who starting in the UK. You had Ultraman from Japan. And the big daddies in America were Green Hornet and Batman.
Yep.
And they were super campy. But Green Hornet's taken a little bit more seriously, but it's still a very like campy comic booky thing, at least with Batman. But Doctor Who and Ultraman, you know, things are starting to diversify just a little bit. In the 70s, there's actually a huge explosion of superhero TV. Okay, you got $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. You got the Shazam and the ISIS Power Hour or whatever. You got Wonder Woman was super huge.
Wonder Woman.
And the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk was a big deal and a very good movie, like a very good show, because so far all the other ones have been kind of silly and been kind of, you know, just not really a lot of depth to these stories, aside from just morality plays. But Incredible Hulk really gets into Bruce Banner, the whole lonely guy. It gets really, really deep there. And Spider-Man. Marvel starts trying to do other things. They did Spider-Man. They had some failed pilots that kind of became TV movies like Doctor Strange and whatnot. And Japan picked up a Spider-Man series. And there's this whole movement in Japan called like Tokusatsu, right? And it's like superhero television. And in the 70s, it really kicks off with Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. Okay? The 1980s, there's kind of like not as many superhero TV shows. One of the biggest ones would be The Greatest American Hero, which is not based on the comic book, but it's a super fun show. A lot of people remember the theme song, Believe It or Not, It's Just Me, if you remember that. But it didn't last very long. You also had the Superboy show, if you remember that one. I watched...
Short-lived, but yeah.
I watched Superboy and My Secret Identity with Jerry O'Connell.
I discovered that one the other day at work.
I loved and adored... I think I watched it on the Disney Channel. I'm not sure, but I remember that. In the 90s, you have a big resurgence again. It's post Tim Burton's Batman. Right? You got The Flash, Swamp Thing, Lois and Clark, Power Rangers, which is the American kids adaptation of Japanese Super Sentai. And then you got stuff like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Xena, right? And then in the 2000s, you got Dark Angel, The Tick, Smallville kind of dominated the 2000s. You got Birds of Prey, and you also got Heroes. Heroes was a very, very, very big deal when it first came out.
Oh, yeah. It was a huge pop culture thing.
And, of course, lately we have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we got the CW shows like Arrow and Flash and Supergirl and The Legends of Tomorrow, and the Netflix stuff, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Daredevil, and the upcoming Iron Fist and Defenders.
And Punisher.
So
there's all these great shows. You're talking about all the stuff from the past, but lately the CW has been the dominant superhero network. I mean, there's some great stuff on Fox. I can't think of anything on Fox, but there's stuff on ABC. There's stuff on Netflix.
And it was recently reported like it's $1 billion industry for DC right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge thing. And CW's kind of cornered this market. Now, the CW is a joint venture between CBS and Warner Brothers, who, if you recall, they used to have their own networks. So UPN and WB. So they both seized those, and together they did a joint venture. They created the CW. Based on the popularity of another show they had on there that carried over to the CW was Smallville. So Smallville was huge on the WB. They carried it on to the CW. Based on the popularity of that, they wanted to make a show based on the Green Arrow. They decided to recast it, not use the Green Arrow from Smallville. They wanted a clean slate. And Arrow, they launched that in 2012. And from there, they spun off The Flash. And then they also spun off, people don't realize, they did a Vixen animated series.
Yeah, they did. And that she was in Arrow.
And she was in Arrow. Yeah. And that's how they reference that they know each other, because if you watch the animated. And then the idea was pitched that they were going to pick up NBC's Constantine when it got canceled. And CW said, hey, man, we don't want to be known as the DC network. However, shortly after that, they picked up Supergirl when it was it was going to be canceled by CBS. So CW has become the DC network. In addition to that, they also launched Legends of Tomorrow. So now you've got 4 shows that are DC, not counting the cartoon, that are DC. And which is great, though, is because since they're on this network, they can mix them together. You can do crossovers. I mean, there was a little Flash crossover with Supergirl and CBS that they didn't think was going to happen because they essentially are two networks, even though CW partly owns them. But now you're in this Arrowverse created by Arrow, and whether you like Arrow or not, if you like Flash, you like Supergirl, you like Legends of Tomorrow, you owe Arrow a big thank because it's success and it's love of these creators that spawned all these other shows. So now CW is the dominant. They might as well change it to the DC channel. Yeah,
I think they might as well almost. And CW has some other anchored shows. They were real big in the 90s and the early 2000s. They were the TV show that launched Buffy. The TV network. I think it was. No, it was
WB.
It was the WB.
It was WB.
Yeah.
And then and then it went over to UPN, but WB is what CW is.
Yeah, now, they both became the CW.
Yeah, and obviously Supernatural's a big deal for them. That show's been going for 38 years at this point. So CW is awesome, but don't undercount Netflix. Netflix has become a giant power for Marvel.
Oh yeah.
A giant power and a way different type of superhero TV. But when you think of superheroes, one of the first things you think of is the costumes. And so there are a lot of costumes that are really cool and some that are pretty bad. So look at the history of superhero TV. What would you guys here think are the best costumes that have been done on television? Justin?
I'm not going to lie, I really, really love pretty much all the costumes on Arrow. The way they do the leather and stuff, it looks like somebody legitimately made this for the purpose of protecting themselves from injury.
Yeah, okay.
All the leather, it just all looks so cool.
It's practical.
Yeah, and they updated a little bit over the course of the show. They changed it around a little bit, make it look, depending on what's going on in the show, they make it more tailored to that.
Any character in particular? Any one costume?
I really liked Adam's costume, and I'm saying it on Arrow because that's where he started. But, the Green Arrow's costume is just awesome.
Oh, yeah. I think it becomes way awesome.
It evolves into a great costume.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I agree wholeheartedly. Drew, what would you say are the best costumes done on television, superheroes?
Well, one that jumps out to me because I love the character on Arrow so much, Deathstrokes, was very cool.
Deathstrokes is amazing.
They had the Flash is a duller red than what we're used to seeing in the Flash, but I really like it. It looks like the material looks like it might belong on him. And then if you go to Netflix, I actually really liked what Daredevil started out as, just the bear ninja, black ninja. But those are some ones that pop out to me.
Yeah, I like you said Daredevil. I really wanted to mention that because I think that's better than the actual Daredevil costume that they get. And you said Arrow.
Yeah.
Right, Justin? And I really think that the best are... I got Deathstroke on my list, and I got Arsenal.
Dude, yeah.
Because Arsenal...
He had the best costume on the show for a while, and it was so much better than Green Arrow's costume.
It really was. I also really like Black Canary's costume, and I'm talking about Black Canary 2.
Yeah.
Her costume is badass. And I really think they did a really good job with Supergirl because the whole Superman, Supergirl costume is kind of cheesy to begin with. And to make it work in live action, I think Supergirl handles it very, very well. What about you, John?
I was going to agree with Supergirl. Hers is closest to the source material that works. A lot of times you have to completely change the costume. Hers looks like Supergirl. There's no doubt that's Supergirl, and yet somehow it works on the small screen. I do love Arrow's new costume. It evolved into. The new costume is badass. It's definitely got that leather that you can sell. And that's what makes him so great, is he was saying it looks like motorcycle costume or motorcycle gear, but that does have protection on it in case you fall off a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So that works for combat. Arsenal's was just phenomenal on the show, and his costume stole the show until everybody else got better costumes. Yeah. One that we didn't bring up that isn't on the CW, there was a great costume because it was so great and so was perfect for the comic, was the Tick.
Oh,
yeah. Patrick Warburton's costume. I mean, he had the build for it too because he's a big guy.
Yeah.
And the costume was just spot on. I love that costume. That's probably my favorite live action. And they nailed it. It was perfect.
Yeah, it's a really good one. I really like that show, and the costume is perfect. And seriously, couldn't pick a better actor to play the Tick. All right, I know here at Pop Culture Philosophers, we don't really like talking about the worst of things very much, but we're talking about costumes. And there have been some bad ones, there have been some lame ones. So, Drew, what do you think are some of the worst costumes they've done on television for superheroes?
Diggle. It was like, you expect him because he'd never had like a comic book source, so they had to just come up with it as they're going on. But it's like, all right, so he's just like tactical starting off, and then he gets the helmet, which is bad. And then did they change the
Magneto helmet?
Yeah, they made the helmet a little bit different.
But back in the day, one of the ones I just go back and laugh at, Nightman. Oh my god, it's so bad. 90s, and it's the concept for it is like this jazz saxophonist creates his own power armor.
Yeah.
It's just bad, man.
I remember Nightman, and also a 90s superhero show that I really liked, but the costume, I don't know, it kind of looks cool, but it's also kind of about Mantis. Does anybody remember Mantis?
I remember Mantis.
Yes.
Yeah. I really liked Mantis, and it seemed like that was something I could make out of like cardboard and like milk cartons and shit like that. Justin, what do you think are the worst costumes for superheroes on TV?
Bill Bixby's Incredible Hulk costume. like Ferrigno with paint on it.
Yeah, okay. You didn't buy it. You don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, for the time, it's fun to go back and watch, and I enjoyed watching it as a kid.
Yeah,
but I mean, really.
Yeah, I know. When I was a kid, it scared the hell out of me, man. Seeing when his eyes go green, it like scared me. It like really scared me, like literally.
But as far as like a legitimate costume go, it's probably a close tie between Lois and Clark's Superman costume, Dean Cain's costume, and I'm probably going to catch some crap for this, but the original Batman. It looks like the comics, but I mean...
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of dumb like that. It doesn't seem practical. It doesn't seem cool.
Yeah.
No, granted, Dean Cain's basically wearing what Christopher Reeves was wearing, but it just doesn't seem to work today.
It doesn't...
And that's not a very good show to begin with, right? I mean, honestly. Their version of Deathstroke was a guy that killed people by stroke.
Yeah.
I mean, like, come on. John, what do you think are some of the worst costumes?
The Dean Cain thing that you brought up, I think it's because the material was like so shiny. They dulled it a little. I don't know why it was so shiny. It looks like cheap material to get like a Halloween costume.
I think the thing that bugged me so much about it was the collar. The collar went like across his collarbone.
Yeah, you could see both of his nipples. It wasn't that far.
He didn't wear a shirt.
It wasn't that far, but it was close. I think the worst offender, and this is a show that was just a pilot and got canceled, and that was the Wonder Woman pilot. I don't know if you saw Adrian, what is her last name, Pilecki?
Yeah, I think so. She played Mockingbird.
Yeah, and she does a great job on there, and she's got a cool costume on there. So I'm not knocking her. The costume for Wonder Woman was terrible. And Wonder Woman works because they did the show before, and the costume worked. And the new movie coming out, the costume was going to work. It looks great. But the NBC pilot, it would look just like garbage.
I think the costume was cool at first until the fans started like their uproar, and they took away her pants. And then like it just looked odd. But I don't know. I liked that at first when it was the pants, but they took the pants away. I think some of the worst ones are pretty much every costume in Smallville.
Yeah.
Except for Aquaman. I think their Aquaman looks really cool, actually.
No bias there.
Every single one of them.
I like Dr. Fate. That was about it.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one.
The helmet
looked
great.
That was, actually. Now I think about it. But like Cyborg and Impulse and
Cyborg was terrible.
Green Arrow, like, I don't know, man.
You're right. I forgot about Dr. Fate. Had one of the best costume on Smallville. Like, better than in the main cast.
And then another one is this didn't really make it, but they did a Justice League pilot, you know? And and those are really, really bad.
I forgot about that pilot.
Look up Justice League 1990s TV pilot, and it is just
it makes the Fantastic Four film that was not released look like a high quality piece. So we were talking about our best and worst costumes. Let's talk to some people in the costumes. Let's talk about the best cast and the best actors on the show, because there's been some great casting, and there's been some terrible casting. So I don't know if some of these people just know the producer, and some people they've definitely we'll get to it in a bit, but there's some people that they've cast and they said so and so's gonna be on the show, and I threw up arms like how dare they cast so and so, and then completely changed my mind on the small once I saw them. So I'm gonna start with Drew. Who do you think some of the best casts on these comic book shows?
From top to bottom, I think the best is the Flash. Because you think the main cast, I don't have a single problem with any of them, and they do their job well. And some guys who weren't that big before, like Jesse L. Martin, we knew him from Law and Order and Rent, but he's
one of the best actors. He brings so much credibility to the show. Seriously.
And like he's made me tear up, and then you bring back John Wesley Shipp to bring him back, and he's they're the two best father figures on TV. Grant Gustin comes in from Glee and blows it out of the water, and then every other cast member just does his or her job incredibly well.
Yeah, I'll give you props there, man. I'll Flash and Tom Cavanaugh too.
Yeah.
Which to me he's still I forgot.
Flash.
No, was the guy that had the bowling alley. Remember he had that show? He had the bowling alley. Ed. Yeah, I kept calling him Ed for the longest time. Like Tom Cavanaugh. He's him and
I remember you telling me, like, that's the guy from Ed. I was like, no, that's Matthew McConaughey. You're like, no, that's Ed TV.
so wrong. What about you, Robbie? Who are your favorite? Some of your favorites.
I agree with Justin wholeheartedly. I mean, with Drew.
Wrong. You might agree with Justin when we get to
I might, but I agree with Drew for sure because it's the Flash, man. And, Grant Gustin, from Glee. I didn't know who this kid was. Mm-hmm. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Candace Patton as Iris, she's really good.
Yeah.
Right? But what's his name? Whoever does this, Carlos
Valdez.
Yes. Cisco's amazing. He's super fun. And in fact, a lot of characters now, like look at Wynn on Supergirl. Mm-hmm. He's kind of like their version of Cisco.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I really like Tom Cavanaugh. Like seriously, like his Harrison Wells is so perfect. But Jesse L. Martin, I'm a huge Rent fan, and he played Tom Collins on Rent, and that's my favorite drink.
I didn't know that was his name on the show.
Yeah, he played Tom Collins on Rent, and Jesse L. Martin, like he breaks my heart. Drew. He breaks my heart every other week on The Flash. The Flash has got the best cast, period.
Yeah, they have a phenomenal cast. And honestly, when they first announced, we're making a Flash show and it's going to be spun off from Arrow, I'm like, oh, great. Because I liked Arrow, but I wasn't sold on Arrow at that point yet, like because we were only into the second season. And like, it's going to be that kid from Glee. And I'm like, what the fuck? I was so mad. I was livid. I'm like, who at DC do I get? Whose ass do I got to kick? From Glee? And I was 100% wrong. Only time in my life I've ever been wrong about anything.
Actually, if you ever watch it, his Glee stuff is great. He did a great cover of Smooth Criminal on Glee.
Yeah.
Moving on.
And of course, he sings on Flash.
Of course.
Musical, yeah. Well, Supergirl is from Melissa Benoist, and she's actually really good on that show, too. Mm. And the dude that plays Martian Manhunter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
forgot his name.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up.
The lady that plays Supergirl's sister, though, she's no.
What about Cat Grant?
Oh, yeah, Callista Flockhart. She's amazing.
Yeah.
I already miss her. Like 4 episodes in, 2 episodes without her, and I already miss her. Like for sure. Best part of Supergirl is with Cat Grant.
Goldsmith, who are some of your favorite casts? You're an actor yourself, so you got an eye for actors, I assume.
I tried really hard to make some sort of argument for Legends of Tomorrow because of God, what's his name that plays Captain Cold? It was in Prison Break.
Wentworth Miller.
Wentworth Miller. I really, really love that he speaks with such this drawn out accent like this, and it doesn't come off as forced or anything like that. He's just got such a really good delivery, and it doesn't seem ridiculous when he's doing it, and it really fits with the character well. And then it hit me that he's actually a Flash character,
Yeah.
So rewind back and go with the Flash. The best cast all around. You guys say.
Yeah, it's a great one.
And when Joe smiles and laughs just at random times, that's just you smile with him.
Have you ever seen the Rent movie or ever
have
seen
not.
Rent with him? Like, watch the Rent movie, and he does, dude. He will break your heart. Seriously.
He's probably the best actor in a superhero television show that I can think of.
I agree. John, what do you think?
I would say, yeah, The Flash has a great cast. I would say that if you find any of these superhero shows, you can find some good actors in the bunch. They may not all be great shows, but there are always some great actors in the bunch. I'd say the best cast, period, though, by far. When I saw this guy, just without even putting a fucking costume on, I'm like, that guy is John Constantine. That's the actor Matt Ryan.
Oh,
Yes.
And I'm sorry that show was so short-lived, but he looks and talks. He's 100%. He's John Constantine. He was born to play that role. And if he never plays that role again, I'm going to be very, very pissed off. And then again, like we said earlier, Patrick Warburton is the Tick.
Oh yeah.
So again, he had the physical manifestation of the Tick, and
he's
worked.
another example of what I really love to see. The same with Captain Cold was that he's got that draw. It's so unique, and you think it's a fake accent that he's doing, like what I'm doing right now, but it's so natural when it comes out of his mouth.
Speaking of Captain Cold, villains. You can't have a good superhero story without super villains. So what, guys, are some of the best villains in superhero TV? And I'm going to start with Justin.
Oh, I really like Captain Cold just because I like
Hobbs.
that actor so much. But I'm gonna go with Hydra from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, Hydra as a whole, because when that happened in the show, it just like ripped that show apart.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the coolest things that's ever happened. I can't think of a better way to shake up a series than just being like, oh, the good guys are half bad.
And the way Ward turned on everybody.
And Ward,
so cool.
And Ward is probably at least top 3 of my favorite villains on TV.
Absolutely. Speaking of top 3 favorite villains on TV, Drew, what would you say are some of the best?
Starting it off, probably, Reverse Flash. The way he just throughout the entire series, you knew something was up from the very beginning, and then just never. It just took a while. It was a slow burn, but he sticks his hand through Cisco, and then Cisco has to remember it, and it crushes him because that's his father figure.
Oh yeah.
And then in the second season, you had Zoom, who with Tony Todd voicing him was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh god.
And then you have the great Manu Bennett as Deathstroke, and an underrated one was Sebastian Blood, because morally he felt like he was he just wanted to actually help the city, but he did it by going with Deathstroke, which is bad way. And then you for the Netflix ones, Kingpin.
Yeah.
Oh that guy.
Yeah, I got Reverse Flash and Kingpin. I don't think you can beat, especially when it's season 1 Reverse Flash. It's just good, so good. But Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, I think, is the best villain. It might be the best villain in superhero fiction on screen, whether it's small or big. It might even be better than any of the villains in the movies. His take on it was so good.
I would say that for especially Marvel's whole universe, I would give that edge to Kingpin.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of Kingpin, John, who are your favorite villains?
Basically, I agree with you. Reverse Flash and Kingpin. I would say Flash in general has a lot of great ones on the show. Mm-hmm. So Grodd is awesome. Yeah. He's not on the show a lot, but Grodd. You've already said Zoom, but I'd say the best villains, period. And let's jump back a little bit further, and it's because of who portrayed them. It was the 60s Batman show. I mean, look who you had playing Joker, and look who you had as Penguin. Look who you had as Catwoman. They had the greatest cast: Cesar Romero, and was it Burt Lancaster and
Meredith Burgess.
Meredith.
Burgess Meredith.
Wow.
Sooner or later,
where'd I get Burt Lancaster from?
I don't know.
And then who were the 2 different Catwomans? It was
well, there was Lee Merriweather, and there was Eartha Kitt. Who was the other one?
So
Julie Newmar.
Yeah. And then they had, and who was the Riddler? I forget was the actor.
Frank Gorshin.
Yeah, dude,
and
they had such a great
cast. Vincent Price as Egghead.
Yeah, Eggheads.
And whoever the guy that played King Tut was, King Tut was really cool in that show.
They had here's the thing, that Flash does a great job, and Arrow does a great job, Supergirl and stuff, but they were pulling in, A-League actors to play these, to be on a B-League TV show.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can go back and touch that. But I'd say for current, I would say Flash by far.
Also, seriously, Mark Hamill, his Trickster.
Yeah, and
all the way
revising.
from the very first one, and it's great because that's where you first get your first glimpse. Of his Joker, because the voice is there, the
laugh,
just all there, man. And I liked him coming back, and reprising the role. I thought it was great.
I thought he was the cock knocker. Is that somebody else?
You hear the Joker voice in that one.
Yeah,
too.
you do hear that.
All right, guys, we'll be right back. We're going to talk about more superhero TV, including special effects, worst, and what characters we want to see here on Pop Culture Philosophers.
Hey everybody, it's John Hammertime Holshoe from the Pop Culture Philosophers, letting you know that we're going to be at the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo, March 18th and 19th at the Von Braun Center's North Hall in Huntsville, Alabama. There's over 23,000 square feet, and they're going to have artists and writers and door prizes and a gaming session and a panel and a kids area. Tons of artists and writers are going to be there, including the legendary Chris Claremont. That's right, X-Men's Chris Claremont. He gave us Days of Future Past. He gave us Gambit. How awesome it's going to be to have him there at the show. And of course, we're going to be there as well. We're going to have a booth. Swing on by. Come by and chat. Talk about pop culture. We're always down to listen to people talk about pop culture and just shoot the shit with you. So that's March 18th and 19th at the Von Braun Center's North Hall in beautiful Huntsville, Alabama. Come on down. It's the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups, and we are talking about Superhero TV. We got the whole gang with us. And now we're going to talk about special effects, because one of the reasons why superheroes were not on TV a lot is because they just couldn't do the special effects to get them. The same thing with movies, the technology was not there. But now the technology's here, and there should be no excuse. So let's talk about the best and the worst, starting with the best. Dashing Drew. What are the best superhero special effects on television?
Again, I talk about it, but they could have messed up the Flash severely at several points throughout both seasons so far, the two complete seasons. But let's talk about it. They could have messed up the running by making it look like Smallville's super speed, which spoiler, there's your worst. But and then they have the balls to create Gorilla Grodd entirely CGI, and then they doubled down and they made King Shark, who is a 15-foot tall shark man, and it looked awesome.
Yeah, it looked amazing. So the worst is Smallville to you?
Yeah, worst Smallville. Yeah, definitely, or Nightman, because everything was bad in that.
Nightman. Which is a Marvel property.
Yes.
which is funny. Speaking of Marvel property and funny, Justin, you like Robert Downey Jr. Anyway, what are the best special effects on superhero TV?
Just straight up, they got the budget for it. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does some really cool stuff.
They really do, yeah.
Because, Marvel pours money into that, and ABC.
Yeah, and they bleed money from it too, I think.
Yeah. And the Flash, yeah, they do great. What they do, the effects that they make with the budget that they have is fantastic. But everything looks so real, like when the planes are landing on each other and like taking off in the big base with the huge doors and everything. Everything just looks so real.
Again, you're talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., yeah.
Okay.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has great... Even Ghost Rider looks good.
Dude, Ghost Rider looks bad.
Yeah, that was something else, too, is that's a really hard thing to pull off, and it looks really good.
Yeah, it looks better than the Nicolas Cage movie. Like, seriously, and it probably has a fraction of the budget, per episode. Justin, what about the worst?
Ooh, I really haven't seen a ton from Legends of Tomorrow, so... they've had some cool stuff, but I haven't... It doesn't look like they have as big of a budget, I guess, yet.
They just got too much going on, too. You got Firestorm, you got the Hawk people, you got all that stuff.
Like, most of the effect... there's like the Hawk Girl stuff. She's flying around, and that looks cool. But, like, most of the effects that are happening are outside the time ship. So, it almost seems like a theme park ride most of the time.
Okay.
So I guess
John, what do you think some of the best special effects are?
I think, like you said, the Flash, the way they do the Flash is phenomenal. That the lightning circle, going around and whatever, like the comics, and how they do the whole speed thing, even the fight scenes. And like you said, the Arrow was one of the first shows that I saw on a cable network where the choreography was just mind-blowing until I saw Daredevil, which is Netflix. But I give the Team Arrow props because they did the hand-to-hand. They did such a good job. And, he's shooting the bow and doing backflips. And it seemed so great at the time. And the problem they have with we'll jump back to Legends tomorrow, which the special effects are pretty good. Mm-hmm. The problem they have is, if I was on that team, I'd be like, okay, we got to take out this guy. Firestorm, you do it. And they're like, nope. We can't flame on to one time this episode because of our budget. Seriously, he should be on fire. It should be Firestorm all the time and just nuking people all the time. First off, they limited his power because they can't just have him be the answer all the time, I guess. Otherwise, it might as well be the Firestorm Hour, which is a great name for a show, by the way.
The Firestorm Power Hour.
But that was I think the limitation. So I think a lot of the limitations on these shows when it comes to special effects, at least current shows, is so much that maybe the special effects are good that you have, but they're limited how much they can use it.
Yeah.
And I think Supergirl is probably one of the biggest offenders because her special effects are amazing, and sometimes not so much, but I think they're hitting that ceiling when it comes to budget. Because Supergirl, ultimately, is one of the most badass characters on television. Because, she's Superman with a fucking skirt, man. So she can do all these great things, and she's got all these great villains, and there's a limitation, and they hit that ceiling sometimes. So I don't blame the show. I think it's a budget restriction. But I don't think any of the current shows really have bad special effects. Yeah. Just, again, the scaling they get. So occasionally you get some weak stuff, or it's over CGI'd, or you can tell it's too shiny, or doesn't fit in, or doesn't work right. So I don't think there's anything bad per se. I even look at the older stuff, and I'm going to say probably one of my favorite, and this show did not do well, but the special effects and the costume, and we should talk about this costume, but it was special effects. The damn Swamp Thing show, man. He looked like Swamp Thing. I mean, that was all practical effects at the time. Dude, he was badass for a TV show in its time frame.
I think that's arguable.
Yeah, I think the costume looked great for its time, but that's all practical effects.
I would say that the best, and I agree with a lot of what we said here, is Flash. I mean, Flash looks so good, and so much of that show's success depended on its ability for special effects. Yeah. And it outshines, and like, what's the difference between Flash and Supergirl? Like, obviously, like, Supergirl has to have bigger stuff, and Flash can save up for the Grods and the King Sharks. But like Drew said, those characters looked amazing.
Yeah.
They looked so lifelike.
The whole season's budget was probably one King Shark.
Even the speed stuff, even the Reverse Flash, like the fight between the Reverse Flash and the Flash, just looks amazing. And Zoom. Oh my God, it just looks so good. For worse for me, it's Doctor Who. Like, I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I really am. But it seems like Doctor Who is always, at every moment of its existence, about 5 to 8 years behind the rest of everybody else in special effects.
I think they're doing it on purpose at this point. They have to be.
Yeah, they're like, it's gotta,
they can get a budget for that.
Yeah, you really think it's like one of the absolute biggest shows internationally, and it still just looks bad to me, guys. And I do love Doctor Who. I think it's one of the best shows on television today.
So we were talking about some of the best shows, some of the best special effects. Let's talk about some of the worst shows, or some shows that didn't quite make it. I'm actually going to start with Goldsmith. Can you think of any comic shows you think are just generally bad or didn't make it to the small screen, and why?
What was the Birds of Prey show about?
It was the Birds of Prey. I mean, it was the Huntress, and it was.
Yeah, I mean, how long did it go, and like what happened?
Oh,
what
maybe
10 episodes.
Yeah, I was going to say it wasn't a full season. It got canceled really quickly.
Did it have a good story or anything?
No. It took some great characters, but it was a crappy story, and it was I don't know, it felt like the show was half-hearted. I think I read that the writer had co-wrote a screenplay for adaptation to the big screen, but this person had never wrote anything on their own, and they were tasked with writing the show, and I think they were overwhelmed.
And then he went on to make Boondock Saints.
Oh.
Just joking.
That's impressive.
I haven't seen that, but it sounds like the worst one.
So what else? What other shows stand out that didn't make it or shouldn't have made it?
I've mentioned it twice already, but Nightman. If you can watch,
we're gonna have to review this on YouTube now.
You watch the trailer. We could just do that. Watch the trailer and review that. Like, all right. So he's a jazz saxophonist in San Francisco.
All right.
You're on board.
I'm with you.
He's struck by lightning and he gains the ability to recognize evil.
Were there chemicals around at least?
No, he was.
Oh, so close to being the Flash.
And he builds his own power armor and laser eyepiece. And
remember the eyepiece?
yeah, I could shoot laser out of his eye. Just one laser, not lasers.
This is all just from a lightning strike.
No, he not the power armor. He built it himself.
The lightning strike
has nothing to do with his power.
Yeah, he built power armor. They don't explain where he learned.
Was struck by the night. He was struck by radioactive night. And became the Nightman.
I was gonna say, if this all happened because of lightning strike, that dude from Caddyshack must be.
Yeah,
super mega.
But also guest spots by Little Richard and Donald Trump didn't help.
Ooh, yeah.
Robbie, what do you think are some of the worst shows? The shows did not work. Well, and why not?
All right, first of all, Arrow.
Oh,
I'm just gonna say that.
Oh.
Smallville. I thought Smallville was atrocious. I really did. Like Michael Rosenbaum's Luther is amazing. He should play Luther on Supergirl if he ever shows up.
What was your opinion of Tom Welling's Superman? Did you not like his Superman or Superman?
I thought it was pretty shitty.
Oh wow! Okay.
I'll be honest. I don't like him. I thought the show was stupid. I thought it was dumb. I thought it was lame.
Well, you're gonna be surprised because Tom Welling's on the show. Come on out, Tom Welling.
I wish. Birds of Prey though is my biggest disappointment because I at the time, this is early 2000s. Okay, I go, my first giant Comic Con I ever go to is Wizard World in Chicago. When Chicago was the Wizard World.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
The original.
And I went there, and they debuted the trailer for the first time.
Ooh, exciting.
And if you watch the trailer for Birds of Prey, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
They're showing all this stuff about, like, Batgirl. You see Batgirl in costume and the Joker.
Oracle.
And all that stuff, and Oracle and Black Canary and Huntress. It's super cool, right? And it's the story where Huntress is Batman's daughter.
Yeah,
okay?
That version. Yep.
And then the show comes out and it sucks, dude. It's just so bad. And I watched it. Oh. Like, I watched it because that trailer was so good. It was so hype. And it was terrible. It was terrible. And I don't know why it didn't work. You know, and it's because it was faithful to the source material. Because you always hear people being like, well, it's not faithful to the source material and that's why it sucks. No. Birds of Prey was faithful. It was very faithful.
Except they had Huntress as Batman and Catwoman's kid, and they made Catwoman into a metahuman, so Huntress was also a metahuman.
Yeah, that is true.
The metahuman part.
But that's not why the show sucks.
Yeah, but that's not why.
And it's just, I think people don't get the mythology sometimes behind these shows, but maybe that's why. But I think those are like, seriously, like Arrow, we got to let it go, guys. We got to let it go. Smallville, no, I'm sorry. Kryptonite Villain of the Week. You know, and I don't know. They did everything so half-heartedly. And I only watched 3 episodes of Gotham, but that show sucked to me. But I heard it got better. But they lost me with the balloon guy. I'm just going to say that.
Balloon guy. So I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to say that Arrow did lose me at season 4. I'm like, I might be done here because I didn't think season 4 was very good. Season 5, way better. Maybe you've abandoned ship, but Wild Dog, they got a whole new team. Prometheus is the new bad guy.
Yeah.
And I'm really liking the new show and the new team, and I think they're doing a phenomenal job.
I'm intrigued about Prometheus.
Yeah.
And Mr. Terrific.
Yeah, Mr. Terrific is awesome. I love that they whoever the showrunner, I don't know if something changed, but they seem to change the direction of the ship. So the new episodes are really good. The I would say far as bad, season 4 of Arrow. It took it dying. I don't know what happened. Like ship going straight down.
I think 3's bad too, though.
I think 3's got its parts. Yeah, it's great if you're a Batman fan because they just stole from Batman.
Yeah. Well, the best part of Arrow season 3 is when he gets stabbed by Ra's al Ghul and kicked off the fucking mountain. That should be the end of the show. It'd be like, yeah, guys, guess what? Show's over.
That would really fucked us people. That was it. Like you said,
it's WB, even Porky Pig could have come up and been like, "That's all, folks."
Like you said, Birds of Prey wasn't very good. And if you realize Batman shows up in one episode, you see him running away. It's the same actor in the same costume as the guy in the OnStar commercials.
Yeah.
So that's his like claim to fame besides the OnStar commercials. I actually like that version of the costume, and I like the actor.
It was just a costume left over from like Batman and Robin, I think, or
Yeah,
something.
it's a hybrid of Batman and Forever and Batman and Robin's costumes. And he's using the Keaton car, but we won't get into OnStar. The Wonder Woman pilot, which failed, which talked about. Birds of Prey, we talked about already. Constantine was a great show, bad time slot. I think one of the worst offenders, though, that we didn't mention was the Blade show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Kirk-
Blade on Spike.
With Kirk Sticky
Who would've-
Fingers Jones.
Sticky Fingers.
I'm just going to say this, guys. Sticky Fingers was a great replacement for Blade. I'm not even lying. Like, I'm not saying the show's great, because it's not. Like, who would expect Spike TV to give us a good, Marvel Blade show? But, like, I love the character of Blade, and people tie that so closely to Wesley Snipes. Sticky Fingers did a great job.
He
And
wasn't the problem with the
I
show.
get a lot of flack for saying
Yeah.
this, but I'm serious as shit. He
yeah.
could still play Blade.
The
He
show,
was good.
the show was bad. It wasn't his fault. And originally it was supposed to be Wesley Snipes, but I guess he had a falling out with the show's the film producers. So then he was going to come back and do the show. There was some sort of big falling out. And then, a lot of things went. It was a great concept. It was supposed to originally be on Showtime, too, by the way. So can you imagine a Showtime with Wesley Snipes being a show? That would have been awesome.
Yeah, it could have been cool.
So I don't blame Sticky Fingers. That's how they pronounce it, Sticky Fingers.
It is Sticky Fingers. And
Sticky Fingers.
was a great.
Yeah, I
play.
don't blame him, but everything else kind of went downhill. From the writing to the effects to the other people on the show. It just, unfortunately, it sounded like it was being firebombed before it got off the ground. But I don't think he was the issue. And lastly, we talked about this before the show, Mutant X, which was the Marvel show.
Oh, yeah.
That really didn't have anybody from X-Men.
And had nothing to do with the comic book.
And nothing to do with the comic books. And it was just not a very good show in general. I don't know why they went in a different direction, but they did 2 seasons into syndication.
Yeah, and it had the guy that played Luther in Lois and Clark,
Yeah.
which is another not too good show. And it's because it didn't have the budget. It just didn't have the...
Or maybe he's cursed
Didn't
and he's
have the
ruining
scale.
shows.
I think a lot of these shows lack scale, and that's why they don't work.
Do them smaller, like little people.
Yeah, but today they've had a lot of success. Netflix, CW, they've had a lot of success bringing these characters into the small screen. What characters would you like to see? What characters have they not done, or they haven't done in a long, long, long time? What characters would you like to see, Drew?
2 come to mind for me. First, Plastic Man. I think if you can get the budget for that, it could be a hilarious slapstick comedy because he can just be incredible.
It would be great, but I'll tell you this, man. As a Fantastic Four fan, they haven't gotten the way that a human stretching out like that looks like. They can't make that look good in a movie, much less a TV show. I think the budget. I mean, it's crazy. Like, you can make fire, you can make ice, you can make people do all kinds of crazy things, but stretching, it just doesn't look right. But dude, that would be a cool show. The animated series was cool back in the day.
Yeah. If you're going to do another one where you don't have to use quite as much budget, why not Animal Man? Because
Animal Man would be cool.
you don't have to go the newer version where he actually changes his body either. He could just, become strong or become fat like that. And you've got the home drama because he's a dad with kids.
Yeah, you could do it like Vixen. The way
Yeah.
they show that would look cool, man.
Yeah. Those are the 2 that come to mind for me.
What about you, Justin?
I just really want Bobby and Hunter to come back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
They took them off because they were going to do that Most Wanted show,
Yeah.
and then that got canceled.
And it got
Yeah,
canceled.
so bring them back. They were the best parts.
Bring them back.
They were some of the best parts of S.H.I.E.L.D.
They were. I mean, because
Absolutely.
their relationship was good, and then the show. As much as I loved the show, it was starting to go down a little bit, and then they joined the cast, and they made it better, and then it started getting better. So that whole time, I don't know. They were great for the show, and they would have made a great show themselves, but now it's not happening. So bring them back.
Bring them back. Plus, the way they wrote them out of the show, I thought was super stupid.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
they
seriously.
got
I just thought it was so dumb.
mega blacklisted.
Yeah, and
So-
they're at the bar and they do that whole
Yeah.
and Mac is so just damn hurt by the
Yeah.
fact that they're still alive. Anyway, John, what about you? What do you think?
Talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I would love to see a spin-off. If we're not going to do that show, why not spin off Ghost Rider? I think Ghost Rider's show,
yeah.
if they can do Ghost Rider on the small screen, which they've proven, he's been such a great asset, why not? I think there's ABC's prime for more Marvel shows. And obviously Agent of Carter didn't make it, but
it was a great show.
it was a good show.
It was a great show.
So I'd like to see a Ghost Rider spin-off. Speaking of you think of Arrow when you think of the hand-to-hand combat, something that wouldn't require a lot of special effects. Bring back the Green Hornet on TV. Green Hornet would work phenomenally well on TV.
That would be cool.
And then lastly, one of my favorite comic properties that you know I'm going to bring up because I bring it up every time we talk about comic properties.
Grendel
on Net. It has to be a Netflix thing, man. Only Netflix could do it. I don't want this on CW or NBC. Otherwise, don't bother. But I think Netflix, they could do Grendel correctly.
I think that'd be really cool. I would pick Moon Knight. I think a Moon Knight Netflix series in the Marvel Cinematic Universe starring Timothy Olyphant would be amazing.
You're very specific.
I'm very specific, but that would be super, super cool. I would like to see Blade come back as a Netflix show. I think that would be really, really BA.
Oh, yeah.
I would, especially after seeing what's the dude, Tyler whatever, that played Superman? Tyler, whatever the dude's name is, that played Superman on Supergirl this year.
Oh, yeah, I can't.
I'd like to see Superman come back in a TV series.
Him, though, or just in general?
With him. I thought he did a great job. But I would also say The Question.
Oh, The Question would be
I
great.
think The Question would be perfect.
Dude, that's prime for TV.
Perfect for television.
Yes. And we can't talk about these great TV shows about superheroes without talking about some of these scores. There's some great music on some of these shows. I'm going to start with Goldsmith. Is there a particular theme songs or music in a show that stands out to you?
I really like the Arrow music because it's simple. Like the TV shows don't do the long drawn out intros anymore. Flash does. It has the whole like 20-second
he
long
explains his
story.
Yeah.
Well, so does Arrow, right? They still do
Arrow is
5
just,
years ago. I was trapped on an
No,
island.
they only did that for like the first season.
Well, I don't think so.
I think they did it for the first two seasons.
Now they it's just like it starts and then
they still give you a recap
goes,
sometimes.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's actually right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that. Not just the intro, but I like the whole score through the whole show is really good.
Yeah, it's got a great score, and then that theme for Arrow, which is just that sound, was like,
yeah,
so cool, man.
yeah, like an alarm on a construction site or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, really selling it. Drew.
Some of the ones that come to mind, like individually, I really like Deathstroke's theme, the wow, and then that goes into high strings. It made you feel like something was about to go down.
Yeah, shit's about to go down.
Yeah, and then in like the Flash overall had pretty good music. They play the theme all the time, and then the little things that come in, the little like original songs, the really slowed down version of "And I Ran," when they played it like one because I was like, is that? Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I would say the CW kills it on the maybe they're small songs or just dubbing songs in, but it works for their shows. Robbie, is there any that stand out to you that you really like?
Well, The Flash on CW, it's Blake Neely, and I believe that's the same guy that does the Arrow music, and it's good stuff. It's a great composition. The theme song is cool. The theme for The Flash is cool. The music in the show is great. I also think Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, has a great composer, Christoph Beck. Good stuff. As far as themes go, Buffy, their theme is by Nerf Herder, which is a fantastic theme. The wow, 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 wow. And the Flash series from the early 90s had a theme song by Danny Elfman.
Great song.
Which sounds very Batman-like, but very Flash-like as well. And I love it.
Yeah, I was going to say, that you stole mine there, Danny Elfman. I mean, the whole show is inspired by the Tim Burton Batman. So you got the effects are very much... And the costumes, the atmosphere, everything is very much owes a tribute to the Burton Batman's music as well. And of course, you got Danny Elfman doing the score. But I would say the one that stands out the most in my mind when I think of iconic comic book hero shows, even though it's kind of campy, it's the Batman show from the 60s. You know, that's like the quintessential comic book show. Yeah. And maybe it's campy, and maybe it's purposely campy, but it works, and it's just simple and sticks in your head.
It gets stuck in your head, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's a great song. That's all it needs to do. It doesn't have to be a good song. It just has to get stuck in your head. Melody.
That the Hulk one does that for me too, the same way.
The Lonely Man theme
at the end. That's got to be the saddest song on television.
It's called The Lonely Man.
Yeah, it is.
And
very
the intro
sad.
too.
Oh yeah.
It's the horns and the bongos.
Yeah. I take back my answer. Forget Batman. The Hulk is the Hulk. It's got the greatest. That's probably got the greatest music. And we're gonna be right back with our top 5.
Hey everybody, Rockin' Robbie here. I want to talk to you real quick about Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie. That's right, it's my own show. We started about 4 years ago. We've been a little bit on a hiatus here and there, but Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie returns. It's returning very, very soon with our all-new episode, The Wonderful World of Wood. That's right. What could it be? What would it be? Anyway, thank you guys so much for checking us out. And remember, Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie is exclusive to YouTube. So join us for The Wonderful World of Wood on the next Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie, only on the Pop Culture Philosophers YouTube channel. Hey everybody, welcome back to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. We are talking about Superhero TV here with Hammertime Holshoe.
Indeed.
And we want to ask everybody the most important question of the night. It was suggested by Justin, and we're going to ask Drew first. Who has the best hair in Superhero TV?
Trying to think about it, I would go with Grant Gustin because his hair never looks bad whenever it comes out of the it never comes out looking messy out when he pulls back the hood.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Justin, who has the best hair?
Oh my God, I'm blanking. The Adam.
Okay, Brandon Ruth.
Yeah, he's got some real good hair. But Cisco also has got some nice flowy locks.
Cisco's got some nice locks there. Yeah, absolutely. John, what do you say?
I would agree with Drew that Grant Gustin, not only does he have a nice set of hair and just have like the coolest look all the time, but he takes off the mask after running God knows how fast, and then he's still got this perfect hair.
Yeah.
I envy him completely. Also, in addition to that, we're talking about that the Superman characters usually have great hair on TV and in the big screen. And Tom Welling had a great set of hair and had a cool haircut. Always looked super spiffy.
A great set of hair.
Talk shit about his acting or the show. His hair always looked good.
I would say best hair goes to Michael Rosenbaum.
Hey.
Oh, just joking. I'm actually going to take it back to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's Angel.
Angel had good hair.
Anybody that knows me in real life knows I love Angel and his hairstyle. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I think you have a little crush on Angel. Who doesn't have a crush on Angel? So we talked about our favorite hairstyles. Let's talk about our favorite shows with those characters with their hairstyles and all. It's time for the top 5. The heart of the show. Hopefully this is everybody's favorite part of the show. It's my favorite part of the show. I'm actually going to start with Drew. So give me your top 5 in ascending order. And it can be, and as long as it's not animated, from any period, live action, TV, superheroes. And it doesn't have to be based in comic books, it can just superheroes in general.
Number 5 would put Heroes.
Oh, Heroes.
Yeah. And then number 4, Jessica Jones. Number 3, Arrow. Number 2 is Daredevil.
Number 2 is Daredevil. So you got 2 Netflix shows in your top 5.
Yeah, man. They're good. and number 1, Flash. I think we've made that evident. I've been talking about it all night.
Well, that is a great top 5. So why Heroes, of all the other that are based on actual comic properties, why does Heroes make it in your top 5 when Heroes probably won't make it on most people's top 10s? What stands out about Heroes to you?
Heroes was a huge water cooler show because there was about the time, I think it was 2006 when it started, you would hear Save the Cheerleader, Save the World all day. You heard it all the time. I still say that. Yeah, no matter what. The best episode from there is probably Homecoming, which is the Save the Cheerleader episode, oddly, because most of that show, especially the first season of Heroes, I would put with just about anybody's one season. It's that good. The rest of the show, but that episode is where Sylar was revealed, and who I forgot to bring up during Villains, but he's another good one because Zachary Quinto, very young,
Spock,
and it was horrifying because he was cutting people's heads off and taking their brains and stealing their powers from them,
just like everybody does in real life.
Yeah.
Your number 4 was Jessica Jones. Why is that in your top 5? And what was your favorite episode that stands out to you, or episodes?
Jessica Jones was good to me because it was a slow burn. There weren't like a ton of huge action scenes like Daredevil, but a lot of investigation. And Kilgrave was incredible throughout that show. And the episode that stands out to me is when they have him captured in the little underground bunker that they have, and the way that he was able to just make reactions from these characters. He's not even doing anything. He's locked in that cage, and he makes his way out because he's got his parents programmed.
And your number 3 was Arrow. Nice to see Arrow that Robbie loves so much in your top 5. What are your favorite
eat
Arrow?
a dick, all of you.
What are your favorite Arrow episodes?
I love Arrow because it started this boom. Superhero
Arrowverse.
TV. Yeah, the Arrowverse. And Daredevil took a lot of that too. They made it dark and like that, not in the intense action fight scenes. But episodes that stick out to me, they both have to do with Slade Wilson, Deathstroke. From the first season is The Odyssey. He gets shot by his mom, and he's hallucinating and coming in and out, and it's almost an entire flashback episode, and it's having to do with his backstory with Slade. And then in the second season, when I'm trying to remember the name, whenever he shows back up and he kidnaps Thea, and they get him he manipulates them to come and find him, and he's just sitting there in the chair waiting on them, waiting for him to get him arrested, and he's just like, he doesn't care. It's like he's above them all.
And number 2 was Daredevil, which is a phenomenal show.
The ones that stick out to me for Daredevil, I love when Kingpin is first introduced, he was the boogeyman. Like, you don't say his name. You don't say Mr. Fisk's name. And then Kingpin shows up, and this Russian guy interrupts his dinner. And he's...
You embarrassed me.
You embarrassed me in front of her. And this man decapitates somebody with a car door.
Yeah, the car door scene is graphic. It's brutal.
Yeah, and then you go from there, and you have the ripped out of the comics Punisher talking to him on the roof. Great scenes. But it's just a great show from top to bottom.
And your number 1 was The Flash, which we know you love, which we all here love, actually, The Flash. Why is that your favorite? And why, and what episodes, should I say, stand out to you the most, or your favorite episodes?
It is my favorite because no other show has made me feel that the way that The Flash does. Because it has, bar none, the number one, 1A and 1B father figures, because superhero TV shows, I mean, look at Superman, father's gone, and even Pa Kent is gone, and so many of these superheroes have no father figure, or they're gone, or not involved. But he not only has Jesse L. Martin as Detective West being a great substitute father figure, but his actual father shows up more than you might think for being a guy in prison, and he's incredible too. In
John Wesley Shipp,
John Wesley Shipp, the original Flash. And then at the end of the first season, I was so overcome because there were 3 big conversations in that with all those father figures, and I actually tweeted him, and I said, and it's like, the highest possible compliment I can give John Wesley Shipp on the Flash is, he made me want to call my father and tell him I love him. And he actually tweeted me back, and he was like, "That's fantastic." He was like, "That's fantastic. Thank you."
That is the best. Oh my God, that is amazing. I love John Wesley Shipp, by the way. He's so awesome.
You know, he also has a father figure in Harrison Wells.
Yeah.
So
misdirected originally.
That show's great.
That is a fantastic list. I'm dying to hear everybody else's list.
All right. Yeah, Drew, fantastic job on the top 5. It's a great top 5, even though Arrow's on there. But you pointed out all the Deathstroke stuff. It's good. Speaking of Deathstroke, you know, Justin's only badass when Deathstroke shows up. So, Justin, what are your top 5 superhero TV shows? Live action.
My number 5 is going to be The Incredible Hulk. Number 4 is The Arrow. The Arrow.
The Arrow.
Number 3 is Flash.
Okay.
Number 2 is Daredevil, and number 1 is S.H.I.E.L.D.
All right, man. Incredible Hulk, man. With Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
Who I met and pissed me off, but I've forgiven him.
I hear he's a dick.
Yeah, like why Hulk, and what episodes stand out?
I'm gonna be real. I haven't seen it a lot since I was younger.
Okay.
But I loved it as a kid.
Yeah.
And I watched it all the time. But it's been so long, and I have such a bad memory.
What about the show, though, like really struck a chord in you?
I mean, the music was great.
Yeah.
And
it was deep.
Yeah. But I just really, I mean, that was probably the first real superhero thing that I got into as a kid. If if I'm honest, probably because I didn't read a lot of comic book. I didn't read any comic books when I was a kid. So that was probably the only that, and I saw a little bit of Wonder Woman, but it was just really cool seeing because I was into Star Trek and all this stuff and science. I was a real nerd when I was a kid.
I think the Hulk was one of the first superhero TV shows to take itself seriously.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So number 4, you got Arrow. Why? Is any episodes that stand out?
It was the first of the Arrowverse, like they said. I really just the first season of that was just so good, and all building up to the undertaking, and I guess that probably is my favorite episode, is when the undertaking finally actually happened, and Tommy gets killed. And,
it's epic. It's huge.
Yeah, it's a big happening.
All right, you got Flash at number 3, and I think Flash is going to be on everybody's top 5 somewhere.
Yeah.
Why Flash? What sticks out?
I mean, just like Drew said, the father figure stuff. Oh yeah, that was really good, and I think it's been so long since I watched it, but I think the episode where it's revealed to everybody that Harrison is not who he says he is, like that turn was really good in that show for me when everybody realizes that he's not the guy who everybody thinks he is. And
number 2, just like Drew, you had Daredevil.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I can't think of the right word. It's more artsy. I don't know. My favorite episode of it is the Kingpin episode where he's buying the painting. Oh yeah. It's when he meets the what's her name? Vanessa. Yeah. When he meets her, but he's just buys this painting, and it's like he's waking up and he's staring at it, and it's just that music in the background, and there's like no words for a few minutes. There's a lot of art in Daredevil that's not in the other shows. And you got a great top 5 here, and I'm really, really surprised that S.H.I.E.L.D. is number 1. Tell me why S.H.I.E.L.D. Are you? Well, I like all the characters in S.H.I.E.L.D. And even in the beginning, when everybody hated Fitzsimmons, I really liked Fitzsimmons. Okay. I hate them so much more now than I did in the beginning. Well, that's my favorite part of the show, aside from like the huge turn when everything bad happened. Well, actually, it is that. It may have been the same episode when the big turn happened, and Ward drops Fitzsimmons out of the plane into the ocean in the box, and then like Fitz gives his oxygen to Gemma, and then he goes into the coma, and he comes out, and he's having all the mental problems, like he's lost a lot of function in his brain, and that's just gut-wrenching to me, because losing your mind basically is like the worst thing to me, and that was a real powerful series of episodes. Oh, absolutely. That's a great top 5, man. Great top 5. Great top 5. Nice to see Daredevil on the list. Robbie, I'm dying to know your top 5. All right, my number 5, it was really tough, and it was almost my secret identity. Like, seriously, I love that show. But number 5 is Batman from 1966. Number 4 is The Flash. Number 3 is Daredevil. Number 2 is Super Sentai. I think you know what your number 1 is. And number 1 is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, sir. Knew it. So I see that of your top 5, I was surprised that Batman made the list at all. Me too, because I didn't think you were going to have any of the older shows on there. Okay. So that's exciting. So Batman, what episodes stand out to you? What are your favorite episodes, and why is Batman on your list? Well, Batman's on my list because when I was a child, I loved it so much. You remember when the Keaton Batman movie was coming out when we were kids. Like, it was Batmania everywhere. Oh, yeah. And, like, everybody was playing that Batman show. I watched it on the Family Channel. Like, almost every night, 2 episodes. It was great. Even MTV played it. But it was fantastic. Love that show. What stands out to me is the episodes. And, I love that they're all 2-parters, pretty much. And they all have rhyming titles, right? But my favorite episodes are Pop Goes the Joker and Flop Goes the Joker. And it's one where the Joker starts defacing like paintings, just like in that Michael Keaton movie, right? And instead of being appalled, the art, industry in Gotham is enthralled. Yeah. And they're like, he's the newest artist. He's so great, and they love him. And it becomes this like big thing, and it's all a big, scheme. And Batman figures it out. But I love that show. It's silly. It's uber sexist because it's the 60s. But there's something about it that is so straight from the comic book. It's so campy.
it's the theater of the absurd. It's just ridiculous.
Your number 4 was The Flash.
Oh yeah.
So of course it's got to be on your top 5 if somebody else's top 5.
Yeah.
So why is that your number 4? And what's your favorite episodes of The Flash?
I think The Flash stands out because, I mean, it's pretty much what Justin and Drew already said. The whole father figure thing is there, and it's just it's a great show because it's very comic booky and it doesn't shy away from its comic bookiness, but it stays real and it's really deep. And Jesse L. Martin is fantastic. My favorite episode is The Man in the Yellow Suit, and that's the first mid-season finale.
Yep.
Where Harrison, it's the episode you were talking about,
Yeah.
where Harrison reveals himself or is revealed to the audience.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but it's a great episode.
That's the episode where he kills Cisco, right?
No, it's
No.
it's the episode where they have their first fight in the dome.
Yes.
And all the lightning's going everywhere.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
almost
yeah.
capture him, but it's so cool. And it's the one where he comes up to Eddie Thawne and he leaves him alone. So he kills all those other cops,
And
it's
everybody
just-
thought Eddie was the bad guy.
yeah, but
All
we
these
knew,
rumors.
but we knew that Thawne was somehow important.
Yeah.
Obviously, because it's Eobard Thawne. But yeah, that one, and I just love it, man.
Your number 3 is Daredevil.
Daredevil, yeah, I love
Nice
that.
to see a Netflix show make the list. Great show.
Well, it seems like Flash is on everybody's list, and so is Daredevil. And Daredevil, I love, man. And my favorite episode is the one Justin was talking about. It's called Shadows in the Glass, and it's the one where he wakes up and they show you the day of the Kingpin. He's like making breakfast, and he does all that, and it goes about his day, and shit's going wrong for him.
Yeah.
And Ben Urich is writing the article, and then it shows. I love how it shows his day, and then it shows the next day, and it gets interrupted by Vanessa, and that's just not. I don't know. It shows you so much about that character, how in control of everything he is.
Yeah, and she changed him.
Yeah,
and
yeah, absolutely. And the painting and what it represents, and it tells his history about his dad, and his dad was abusing his mother, and like he killed his father, and it's just such a great episode. And it ends with him looking at the painting and coming public, you know, influenced by Vanessa, and he combats the article by Ben Urich by going public and becoming this giant figurehead. And I think it's amazing, dude.
And your number 2, of course, I knew Super Sentai was going to make the list in some way.
And it's not Power Rangers.
No, it's the Japanese equivalent, or where it starts from, with Super Sentai.
I loved Power Rangers growing up, and I think Power Rangers is amazing. And Power Rangers is on my top 10. But Super Sentai is so much of a better show. In particular, I love Gokaiger. And there's an episode called Something I Don't Want to Lose, where it's about the history of the Pink Ranger and Gokai Pink. And it is so poignant. Like, it is seriously some of the best stuff. And I don't care if you've never watched Power Rangers, if you don't like Power Rangers, whatever. You owe it to yourself to watch some Super Sentai, and I would recommend Gokaiger. It's just so good, and what the Japanese television culture did for superhero TV, you cannot stress that enough. Like the Tokusatsu stuff, Ultraman, Metal Hero, Kamen Rider, Super Sentai are so important. And some of the most they were the most sophisticated superhero TV until the recent renaissance of superheroes. Like, it's so good, man. It really is. And Gokaiger in particular, but that episode, Something I Don't Want to Lose, is fantastic.
And your number 1,
Of course,
was Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well, anybody that has ever listened to any of our shows or knows me knows I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She's a superhero. She's got a secret identity. She's got a gang. She's got her own Team Arrow. You know, that Scooby Gang. That's where that all starts, man. And she is so badass, so in charge. Everything about that show I love. My favorite episode is Once More with Feeling, and it's the musical episode. Buffy gets deep, man. Buffy makes me cry. Buffy makes me think. Like, Buffy does a lot, like, to my soul, like the TV series does. And Angel is a great spinoff as well. And I think it's seriously some of the best superhero fiction, period.
I really need to watch that show.
All right, John, what are your top 5? Because I'm itching to know.
My top 5, in no particular order. No, I'm gonna do an honorable mention before I get to my top 5, and that's the Green Hornet show, because it was so short-lived.
Yeah.
It had Bruce Lee, and it was such an incredible show, and they don't have powers, but they're still badass. And you might as well say that Kato had powers. Short-lived. I wish it wouldn't have gone longer. Such a great show. Anyway, number 5 is going to be Arrow. Number 4, Supergirl. Number 3 is going to be Daredevil. Number 2 is The Flash, the current Flash, 2014. And number 1, Batman, the 66 Batman show.
I had a feeling your number 1 is going to be Batman. Okay. Everybody here, just going to point this out, everybody here has Flash and Daredevil on their list. Because they're great shows, guys. Great shows. We talked to some people today, and Brian Weaver, good fan of the show, said Daredevil was his favorite comic book, or not comic book, but superhero TV show. Daredevil's a great one, Brian. We couldn't agree with you more because we all four put Daredevil on our list. I'm really surprised you got Supergirl in here. You got a lot of CW stuff. Number 5 is Arrow. Why Arrow, and what stands out?
Destro, he's only on a little bit. I know he's a Teen Titans villain, but with the bit he's on there is badass. I like that backstory with him and Oliver. And it did jumpstart the Arrowverse. It introduced Barry Allen, the scientist, who later got his own show, spun off The Flash, so thank you for giving us Flash. And I just think there's so many things they do right. Yes, there's some missteps, especially season 4, and yes, they poached too much stuff from Batman, but they do a lot of things right. I think that Stephen Amell's Oliver Queen, I think, is phenomenal.
And the way he does the salmon ladder is
oh my god, yeah,
entirely enthralling. Like I could watch that for hours.
So there's some great casts on there and some great. I don't know. I love the new costumes. There's certain characters they've introduced on the show that's been great. Some not so great, but I really think it's one of the better shows. And again, it gave us the Arrowverse, so I think I give it more props because of that.
Number 4, you got Supergirl, and I'm really happy to see Supergirl on somebody's list because I love Supergirl. I think it's an important show. The first season just had too many missteps for me to really like put it on my top 5, but I really considered it. I really, really did. Why Supergirl? What stands out?
Well, first off, I think Melissa, how do you pronounce her name?
Benoist.
She does a great job as Supergirl. The whole cast is great, in my opinion. It was one of those things that I think Supergirl, in general, is one of the most underrated comic book characters.
It's the best Jimmy Olsen that's been anything ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very underrated show.
Yeah, I feel like her character's underrated because everybody thinks Superman's such a badass, and Superman's so rated so highly in just the, in all the DC characters or comic characters in general. I'm like, dude, Supergirl has all these powers. She can do this stuff. Why is she? I always felt she was an underrated character. I always liked her in the comics.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job transitioning it to the small screen. And I really enjoy the show. I think I like the other characters they've introduced. And I think they've done a phenomenal job with the special effects for the most part. Yeah. Budget given. So I just think, I don't know, I love it overall.
And Martian Manhunter is so badass in that show.
Oh, yeah. I was so excited they introduced him on the show.
Daredevil's on your list at number 3. What stands out, man? Why do you like it?
It's just so, I don't know, they did such a good job. And I think it's because they didn't have as much, there's not as many restrictions on them because it's Netflix. Hey, guys, we can do whatever we want. We can do it gritty. We don't have to do it gritty, but we can tell it any way we want. We don't have restrictions. So I think they did a phenomenal job doing it. Again,
and that hallway scene.
Dude, that hallway scene. And that hallway scene, man. It goes on for a while, but it is badass. I thought Arrows hand-to-hand was amazing.
It's almost as long as the fight. And they live.
Yeah. I actually love Daredevil, and I think they did such a good job, again, bringing it to the small screen.
Yeah.
And I don't think they could have done it any other way. So I'm happy that Netflix gave them the opportunity, and they worked out with Marvel.
Number 2 is The Flash. We love The Flash here.
Yeah, there's not much more to be said than The Flash. Than it's such a good, it's such a good show, and it's such a great staff, and there's so many great episodes, and the special effects
What
are
episodes
great.
stand out?
I would say one of the ones that stands out to me is the Runaway Dinosaur.
Oh, the Kevin Smith.
The Kevin Smith one where they keep reciting that Runaway Dinosaur story with his mom or whatever. It's just sad.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot of great episodes because I think Flash is one of the few comic book shows that I've watched where there's a few episodes where, if somebody walked in, I'd be like, I'm cutting onions, don't come in here. There's a couple of Flash episodes that make you want to cry, and this is a comic book show.
Yeah.
And I can't say that about most other shows in general. But yeah, The Flash, great show.
Your number 1 is no surprise to me. I really thought Batman was going to be your number 1 because it's Batman, and you are so brand loyal.
Yes.
And Batman is your comic book brand.
Yes.
But seriously, John, let's be honest, man. Batman above all these shows, above Daredevil, above Flash. Tell me why Batman's so much.
It's campy, but my first introduction to superheroes in general, was the Super Friends, the cartoon. And then I got into comics, and then shortly after that, I discovered the Batman 66 show, which was different than the comics, but this is pre-Keaton film. And so it was the first live action I saw. I love the car. I think the casting is great. Not only is these great actors as the villains, but I think Adam West and Burt Ward are phenomenal in the show.
Oh, yeah.
It's campy, but I think they could have done it serious, should they've been given that direction. I love just them walking up the side of the building, but they're actually doing the sideways.
I'll be honest with you, man. If the show was taken seriously, it wouldn't be as good.
Yeah, you may be right.
Yeah, it's like the Monkeys. It's theater of the absurd. It's absolutely ridiculous.
There's even there's a crossover because Penguin shows up on a Monkeys episode, but never mind.
Yeah, and there's a crossover with the Green Hornet.
Yeah, and that's my favorite episode, actually, the crossover with the Green Hornet.
Okay, absolutely.
Because I love that. And what the crazy thing, though, is that Batman fighting the Green Hornet, I can see that. I'm like, okay, they're fighting hand to hand because they have to, in that scene when they first meet, they end up fighting. But Burt Ward is fighting Kato. I'm sorry, homie.
No way.
Yeah, no. Kato would whoop his ass.
No way.
So it's such a great cast, and Again, I think it holds. Go back and watch it. It's still, yes, it's campy, but I like the boom, pow. You know, the things that pop up.
Oh, yeah.
I like the gadgets. Again, that car.
That
car was my favorite car until the Keaton Batmobile.
Defined Batman for generations.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it did. For good or bad. Maybe not necessarily for the better.
Some great top 5 lists, guy. I'm proud of everybody.
So my question to everybody, since we're talking about how much we love superheroes, why do we need superhero TV? Why, Drew, start with you. Why do you think we need superheroes on television?
They're the next step in American myths, because not every kid can make their way to their local comic book store. Maybe they don't have that store near them. Maybe they don't have $4 every couple weeks. But their parents, they can get a TV and they can turn on the channel and see the Flash and inspire hope and have these great characters, and that can help them for years, and they can just fall in love with it and then fall in love with the characters.
Or maybe it's a good jumpstart into comics.
Yeah.
How many people do you think watch these shows and then go to the comic book store, the Deep in Huntsville being one of them, and say, hey, I watched the Flash show, I watched Green Arrow, I need more of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that it's introducing people to comics in general. Justin, why do you think we need superheroes on the small screen?
I mean, it's kind of like what Drew said, the modern day myths. They are characters that are going to live on forever. And like if civilization died tomorrow, there would at least be a few hundred people in caves chiseling Batman and Superman on the wall. They're going to live forever. And it's really, really nice to, like in this day and age when everybody's complaining about the kids just sitting in their living room watching TV all the time and not outside playing or reading or anything like that. They could be channel surfing or whatever and find a show, and there's so many of them now that it's a good bet that one of the characters on the show will be somebody that they really identify with, and see like I could do that, or then have somebody to look up to no matter what's going on in their personal life. So it's something to aspire to.
Robbie, why do you think we need to have, other than being a big comic book fan, why do you think we need superheroes on TV?
I agree with these two guys, man. They said everything I wrote here is mythical, and seriously, we need something to aspire to. Justin is written right there. It is. We need something to aspire to. We need a mythology. We for all of human history, we have told stories of greatness, of the hero's journey, of conquering evil, of moral. We have told these stories. These superheroes can make television something that they can take it from mindless entertainment, which a lot of TV is, like honestly, like, yeah. And they turn it to mythology. And the way superheroes embody mythology, television has taken from it. Like other television shows that are not superheroes, like think about stuff like the X-Files even, or even something like CSI or the Blacklist.
Oh, don't put
even.
those in the same category.
But no, even thing like they build a mythology, and they build these characters up. And I think superheroes, they're so primal. Like they directly represent like ancient mythology.
Yeah, they're the personification of an ideal.
Yeah, instead of Zeus and Krishna now, we look at Superman. And anybody that knows me and follows PCP, they know I'm big in the superhero mythology. Mm-hmm. And that's why, man. I mean, like, it gives us something that even subconsciously has a major impact on our culture and us as individuals. And that's why we need it.
I agree with you entirely. And why not superheroes? Because superheroes, let's look at comic books, for example. The comics themselves lend themselves well to TV. I mean, you got monthly, you could do that as an episode. And not just superheroes comics, but superheroes in general. It's nice to have that deal. It's nice to have somebody to look up to. Even look at the Flash. Even without his powers, he's still a CSI. That's something to look up to. Of course, there's a bunch of CSI shows, excessive amount on TV. But you're right. It's good to have these role models.
CSI was a bad example.
But these are good role models. I've always wanted to be a playboy billionaire like Oliver Queen. I still look up to him. But why not superheroes? There's so much on TV. I think there's room for more superhero shows than we have on TV, and I would like to see more. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I think that this was a phenomenal episode. I had a lot of fun. I appreciate Drew.
I think the episode was super.
Yeah, Drew. Hey. I appreciate Drew for joining us, Justin for joining us.
You're welcome.
Robbie for being here always.
Always, thank you.
In the Huntsville Attic. Next episode, we're going to talk about the Coen brothers.
Ooh, yes.
And the Coen brothers films. Great directors. Mm-hmm. I heard they're related. We're going to have...
It's a rumor.
Yeah. We're going to have Mike Matthews and James Lineback on the show joining us. They're both Coen brothers fanatics, so I think it'll be a great episode.
Yeah, the old school SOE crew, yeah.
But first...
That's right. But first, before the Coen brothers episode, Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie returns, and it's not a Halloween episode.
Oh, shit.
Holy shit. Seriously, Rockin' with Rockin'
Is it
Robbie
a Christmas
returns.
episode?
Yeah,
Thanksgiving
no.
episode?
No. No holiday centric. Just back to Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie. It's going to be a YouTube exclusive now, so be sure to check out YouTube and subscribe because we're coming back with The Wonderful World of Wood.
Ooh, what could that be about?
What could it be about? What would it be about? I don't know.
What couldn't it be about?
I'm excited, man. It's going to be a great show. All things wood. But I had a lot of fun tonight, guys. Thank you for being here, and thanks for listening.
We appreciate you. If you're listening to us on iTunes, check us out on our website because we have a bunch of videos and additional content, www.popculturephilosophers.com. If you're on the site, let you know that you can subscribe on iTunes and Android. And, of course, we're on the YouTube and on Facebook. We love you guys. Thanks, everybody, for being on the show, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Same bat channel, same bat time.
And it works this time.
It does.